Let's set up. Takes a moment. Hey, actually, it worked pretty fast. So we are live a couple minutes before before 1 o'clock here. That's awesome that it worked. That it worked quickly. So we're gonna go live here, Kai, because we're already live on our Facebook page. So first of all, thank you. If people don't know me, I'm Julie Hirschberg and the owner and founder of Re+active Therapy and Wellness. And I am here with the amazing Kai Iwamoto, who is a doctor of physical therapy student. And today is her very last day of an 8-week summer clinical at Re+active. And we're so, first of all, Kai, you've been an amazing student. And we love having students at our clinic as well. And every time a student's here, they're part of a project, like a greater project for Re+active. And this round of students, Kai was one of 3, actually worked on putting together some outcomes from the different programs that we have. And this particular project that Kai did really blew me away. In fact, I think it blew our whole clinic away. First, like, Kai, you did such a great job with the data, but also the data speaks for itself. Like the program that we were able to put together through a grant from the Parkinson's Foundation was called Re+motivate. We ran 2 cohorts, one group of 8 people, one group of 9 people, through an 8-week program of psychology, occupational therapy, and exercise, along with workshops to really facilitate community and support and motivation for people with Parkinson's. So Kai wasn't even here for that program because it finished just before you started. And but we were able, we collect information from people before the program and after the program, because we want to know, how did it fulfill those goals? Did we actually help people exercise more and stay motivated and build self-efficacy and meet their goals and all of those things? So we asked Kai to help us really understand what people got out of the program. So I'm so excited for her to share that. So Kai, you could share your screen here.
All right, can everyone see it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
That looks great. Yeah, so you can walk us through even the population that we had, and then through the outcomes.
Yeah, so as Julie said, there were like Re+motivate questionnaires and then post Re+motivate questionnaires. So taking all the data from there were 17 total patient outcomes. And the age, really, there was a range of 49 to 78-year-olds. And also the time that they've had the Parkinson's diagnosis also ranged from as early as 6 months to as long as 21 months. So we got a good glimpse into a good range and scale of all the different populations that can benefit from this program, no matter what the age or how long you've been diagnosed with it for. And so first, getting right into some of the outcome measures that we were able to take. So the first is called a patient-specific functional scale, and you jot down 3 meaningful activities that you have. And they were asked to scale it from 0 to 10 in terms of how well they could integrate it into their life and how happy they were with, or confident they were in, taking part in their meaningful activity. And so as you can see on the left, this is kind of a general overview of an increase in the score pre and post program. And an increase in score means an increase in confidence. So obviously that's a great improvement for this one. And then there's barriers to exercise. So rating how these barriers play a role into whether or not they get exercise in the day or throughout the week. And the right side shows all the details about what they rank. But again, on the left side, it shows a general overview of the pre and post, and it shows a good amount of decrease, which is a decrease in barriers that they felt were stopping them from exercising. So again, big improvement here. The next one is the self-efficacy scale, ranking how they feel about doing certain goals and how they feel just in general about their self-efficacy. And so on the right, it shows the details of that one. Left, it also shows the pre and the post of their scoring when it comes to being able to accomplish their goals or problem solve. And so there was an increase in efficacy that they felt while doing the problem solving, which is obviously an improvement there. One of the last ones, the fatigue severity scale, ranking how they feel when fatigue plays into their daily life, whether it's physical functioning, whether it's coming to exercise, or just doing like everyday things that they would normally do. Pre and post on the left here, and there was a decrease in the score, also showing that there was a decrease in fatigue and how much of that fatigue was intruding into their daily activities. So again, a big improvement here. And then the last one is called the HADS, which is the Hospital Anxiety and Depression Scale. And so they were able to rank their like, I feel tense and wound up. So things that might create that anxiety in their lives, or things that might be related to depression that might bring their activity level down. And so even seeing here, there were huge differences in, I get sort of frightened, feeling as though they would, so indicating anxiety and depression, feeling as though they can't do anything. Or the other ones can be more like, I look forward, or I get sudden feelings of panic, or I can enjoy a good book. So these were taken into account with the scoring. So I can enjoy a good book was a decrease in anxiety. And overall, the HADS showed even a greater decrease overall, with improvement shown here as well. And then,
so like, first of all, awesome work to bring together all of those outcomes. And also, I mean, amazing from our participants to do this, right? So we had them do it before the program because it gave us an idea of where they were. And then we had them do it after because we wanted to see a change. And again, we created this program to build self-efficacy, to reduce barriers to exercise. And they worked individually with occupational therapy to really look at their goals. So like these meaningful activities, what are the barriers to them participating in some of those? And how can we, really systematically decrease some of those barriers and build up their resources, whether that be some of their psychosocial resources. So how motivated they feel, how engaged they are with life, or maybe fatigue, right? So how can we build, maybe through exercise, through their routine management, through pacing, how can we decrease fatigue? So we could see through all that great data that you showed, they decreased their fatigue, improved their self-efficacy, decreased some of their barriers to exercising regularly, which we know has a really disease preventative effect in Parkinson's. So this is like not only like changing in this moment, but I think really making an impact in people's lives overall. And I know there was a quote at the top of this page, yes, right? And I'm gonna have you share that, Kai, because I love this quote. I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, so as Julie said, I wasn't part of the program. I was kind of looking at it as like a third person. And so getting to know the program from all the patients and the quotes that they had written down in these outcome measures were very moving. And so I decided to put a couple of those anecdotes on to this little review sheet. but the one on the top was that Remotivate is a key part in my coming to grips with the very recent diagnosis of Parkinson's. It has allowed me to meet new people and make new friends, to discuss common circumstances like sleeplessness, motivation, exercise, and symptoms, and it has given me the opportunity to reinvent myself as a person. So that was just so moving to hear that like the program, the OT, like the neuropsych, the wellness all came together to play a role in this reinvention and putting themselves back into their like functional life.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. One thing I forgot to point out, and as you were sharing the time spent since diagnosis, this was funded by the Parkinson's Foundation, so it was an entirely free program, and it was geared to people with new onset of Parkinson's, and it was also geared to people who maybe didn't have readily accessible care too. So we reached out into the community to many different areas to connect people. And so I think that makes it even more meaningful when people can connect to a community who maybe weren't already connected as well. So I know you actually interviewed a person who was a part of the program, and you share some of her story here. And I think it's nice just to kind of see this, in a one kind of case view of how this impacted this person.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of interviewing JS, and this patient was 71 years old and had the diagnosis for just 18 months, so a year and a half. And they had written that their goals from Remotivate were to improve on their balance as well as their well-being. And when I zoomed into her outcome measures, I looked at each of the outcome measures that I just explained and kind of highlighted the major parts where it showed improvement and kind of relating it back to her goals. And so when it came to like the PSFS, she really wanted to get back into walking her dog with their leash, since the dog was a little bit more reactive and required more control. And she went from a 0 to 10 to a 5 out of 10, which is a great improvement. And that also plays into the stairs as well as getting in and out of the seat. Also showing that for fatigue used to interfere with carrying out her duties and responsibilities. She rated it as high as a 7 out of 7, which is the max. And by the end of the program, it came down to 2 out of 7. And then for the HADS, she rated that she felt tense and wound up a lot of the time. And that by the end went to just time to time, and as well as the worrying thoughts in her head from a lot of the time to only occasionally. And so when I asked her, I had the pleasure of speaking to this patient, she really emphasized how everyone who was part of the team brought in this new kind of energy, and she was able to match her energy and resonate with every single aspect of the program, and how important it was for her to have that connection with a team and to work together towards her goals here. And another quote that really like resonated even with me was, the program focused on so much more than just small goals. We gained the confidence to survive this world. And so the motivation that she was able to gain through this program really put her back on just the right foot, to gain that confidence to really face the world again. And like it says here, the class gave her a sense of bravery and community, and she feels like she can face the world knowing that she has a community with her.
That one gives me chills. When you share this with our team this meeting, I was like also like tearing up, because I think too, that was our goal, and we often have lofty goals when we launch a program. We are like, we want to change the world, and we're going to build a community, and really get people connected. And then to see it happen, not only through her words, but through the outcomes that you put together, it really is inspiring. It definitely propels me on to, we actually applied for another grant to do a similar program again, a little bit different. And we just got that grant just the last week. And so I'm so excited that we get to do this again, and do it more, be able to provide it for like low cost access for people as well. And this is really like, this was another really good, I love how she said this for the whole team, because this is a good example of an integrated team coming together in a group and individual way to help people who are newly diagnosed with Parkinson's. So what an impact that
Yeah,
it's
and that
made.
kind of relates to the things that she mentioned that she loved about the program, was having that team and one-on-one with every or one-on-one like relationship with all, like every aspect of that team, and how they brought their own strengths and how she could just adopt that routine into her life. And even for the areas of improvement, she just stated that she wanted to keep in contact because the warm community of people, and she wanted to just continue that throughout her like journey in life. So
Yeah, that also, and that's actually something when we built to do our next grant, when we applied for it, we got feedback from many of the folks with Parkinson's we work with, and that was a piece that they all mentioned. And so we added a peer support network as part of our grant. So that's actually coming up, next year when we do this. That's something that we're going to build in too. So it's kind of neat that her feedback actually resonates with what we're doing next. Yeah, so great. Kai, I want to thank you so much for sharing this, and putting this together so that we can share it with the world and encourage other healthcare providers to think about doing something like this. I think sometimes as physical therapists or OTs, even psychologists, we kind of can feel a little stuck when it's hard to keep somebody motivated. And we know in Parkinson's, due to the changes in dopamine, we inherently lose motivation. It's not like a personal issue for people, it's a brain issue for people. And that was the reason behind us doing this program. And it's really exciting to see that actually it does improve people's motivation. I mean, I think if we were measuring dopamine levels or had them in brain scanners, we would see a difference. Now, that would take a whole lot more funding, so we're not doing that, but we can see what is at least happening from a motivational standpoint in their life, and it's pretty meaningful. So that's awesome that you get to be a part of this as a student too. I just think gosh, I wish I had this as a student, because I think I would think a little more broadly about the clients that I work with and what resources and things I might want them to get connected to early on too. So I hope that this has also been a really helpful experience in your like clinical journey too.
I feel like it's going to shape the kind of PT that I hopefully become, and give my patients more of like a holistic view on how a team can come together and help them as like a whole team and work together as well.
Yeah, well, you are becoming that PT. You're like on your own. So Kai, thank you so much. Thanks for this time of being at Re+active too. We will be sad to see you go. And we will stay in touch for sure.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Kai.
Okay, bye.
Bye.